All right, good evening, everyone. I call the City Council meeting for Wednesday, January 25th to order. At this time, we'll have a moment of silence. A lot of things going on in the world, a lot of concerns from different folks, and certainly having the people in California in our thoughts. So let's have a moment of silence about whatever it is you want to think about. Thank you. If everybody rise and we'll recite the Pledge of Allegiance together. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. I love that. Mr. Krupp, would you please call the roll?
Dunn.
Here.
Kelly.
Here.
McGinnis.
Here.
Lee.
Here.
Grip.
Here.
Condon.
Here.
Cornett.
Here.
Dickman.
Here.
Jobson.
Here.
And Ortez.
Here.
10 present, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. It's almost like people are watching over us. So good evening, everyone. Again, as we begin the meeting of the City Council, I want to again welcome everyone in attendance and especially anybody that's viewing to any particular electronic device. We respectfully welcome your opinions and comments, but please keep in mind that as you share your thoughts, you're sharing them with your fellow Davenporters. We're happy you're participating in your city government, but we ask that your participation please reflect the common desire I know we all share to make Davenport a better place, especially for the big crowd that's in here. If you have a cell phone, I know you want to take pictures, but if you'd please put it on silent or maybe turn off the volume, simply that doesn't get in the way of anybody talking. If you want to address the council on any item, please come to the podium. The microphone's above you. Ask you to hold it to 5 minutes. We'd love to know your name, ward, or address, and if you're not from here, we'd love to know where you're from. Please address the council as a body and not to any one individual. We'll be respectful of you. Please be respectful of us. Thank you. Will an alderman please move approval of the city council minutes for January 11th? Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. Thank you. Ms. Spiegel, City Administrator, any update this evening?
Nothing this evening, Your Honor.
Very good. So then will an alderman please move approval of the report of the Committee of the Whole for January 18th?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. We have one proclamation tonight, and I'll read. City of Davenport proclamation. Whereas opened in 1973, the Center for Active Seniors, better known as CASI, serves as Eastern Iowa's only comprehensive senior center and one of only 2 senior centers in the state of Iowa to secure national accreditation through the National Institute of Senior Citizens. And whereas on February 7th, 2023, CASI will celebrate 50 years of carrying out the mission of providing our community's senior citizens with services that promote independence and enrich their lives through socialization, health, wellness, and supportive services. And whereas that unique 40,000 square foot facility hosts approximately 8,000 activities annually that are geared toward increasing socialization and improving health, wellness in ways that help seniors age well. And whereas CASI has a history of building strong community partnerships where the needs of those they serve are placed above the pride or achievement of any one organization. CASI was instrumental in the development and implementation of the Congregate Meal Site program now offered by the Area Agency on Aging, senior transportation offered by Riverbend Transit, and the first affordable senior housing in downtown Davenport at Edgewater on 3rd. And whereas CASI also offers supportive services when the demands of aging become more challenging. These support services include the Senior Advocacy Program and the Jane's Place Adult Day Services Program, both of which provide participants with a safe, secure, and nurturing environment while away from home. And now, therefore, we, Mike Mattson, Mayor of the City of Davenport, Iowa, do hereby, and the City Council, do hereby proclaim February 7, 2023 as Center for Active Seniors Day in Davenport and urge all citizens to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Center for Active Seniors and recognize their continued contributions to community seniors. I'll accept a motion to approve. So moved. Second. Motion is second to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And I know we have a bunch of folks here. Laura Kopp, the President and CEO, Lee Gaston, potentially the Director of Finance, Amy Johnson, Director of Operations, Lori Bloomberg, Director of Social Services, Sue Rector, Director of Development, Jane Van Horst, Board Member, and then, of course, Mayor Clips, the Board Chair. Meet that group at the podium.
Congratulations, Mayor, congratulations. Thank you. And I know Jerry's gonna order us to stand somewhere for a picture. Wherever you'd like.
We can sit across the row.
Kind of here, right here, this
Yeah,
way.
can we all rotate this way or step this way?
Everybody kind of rotate this.
Yep, like take like 4 steps.
All right? Yeah, yeah. Okay, we're still.
All right, there we go. All right, 1, 2, 3.
Good job. Congratulations. Please, all of you, or whoever wants to say a
Thank
few
you
words.
so much. I will go ahead and say a few words on behalf of myself, the KSI Board of Directors, and all seniors here in the Quad Cities. We want to thank you. I've met with several of our city council members over the last couple of years. You all have been so welcoming, so accommodating, and immediately responsive whenever we've called upon you. And KSI has been a proud partner with the city the last 50 years. I know the mayor has mentioned a few of our partnerships, including affordable housing for seniors back in the 1970s, senior transportation with Riverbend Transit, and the congregate meal site with those Older American Act dollars. We are a proud partner with the city, and we look forward to 50 more years of partnering. So thank you so much for this. We appreciate it. Thank you.
And now we have a special recognition. It is an honor to bring firefighters and police officers and first responders into the city, but every now and then a few, like others, go above and beyond. So Chief Carlson, please come up and tell us about this, and I'll stand aside and wait for this significant achievement and recognition.
Thank you and good evening. Mayor Mattson and the City Council, I appreciate the opportunity to be in front of you tonight. On a daily basis, the men and women of our Davenport Fire Department make a difference in our community. But on the afternoon of Friday, December 23rd, all of the crews working on A shift this day were challenged with a difficult incident. At 2:24 p.m. that Friday afternoon, the Davenport Fire Department responded to the report of a structure fire at the 1600 block of West 42nd Street. The weather conditions at the time were brutal. The region had just experienced a winter storm the day before with blizzard-like conditions. At the time of the incident, the air temperature was near zero, with high wind conditions causing dangerous wind chill factors. Within minutes of the dispatch, the first engine company on scene reported a 3-story apartment building with heavy fire and smoke conditions visible from the front of the building on the 2nd floor. The high winds fed the fire, allowing it to grow rapidly. The first engine company on scene began an aggressive fire attack and relayed information that a subject was needing to be rescued on the 3rd floor balcony at the rear of the apartment building. This rescue assignment was given to Truck 3. The Truck 3 crew of Lieutenant Jeff Pilgrim, firefighter Corey Schockenbach, and firefighter Trevor Dotson were on that Truck 3 crew that day. The Truck 3 crew arrived at the rear of the building and found a person trapped on the 3rd floor balcony with dark smoke exiting from the patio door behind them. The Truck 3 crew quickly deployed the aerial ladder to rescue the person from the balcony. Once the crews positioned the rescue bucket near the balcony, the trapped person was able to climb into the bucket and was lowered to safety. Once on the ground safely, the trapped subject was provided shelter inside one of our DFD apparatus. Then the crew of Truck 3 was assigned another task on the 3rd floor of this apartment building. As crews made their way down smoke-filled hallways on the 3rd floor, they found 2 additional fire victims. Both of these victims were unresponsive. The crew of Truck 3 quickly notified the incident commander of the situation and transitioned into a rescue mode to remove these victims from the apartment building. The child was carried out by one of the Truck 3 crew members, and he began emergency care while carrying the child out. The adult was removed with the assistance of other DFD crews on scene. Both fire victims were given to Medic EMS to be transported to the hospital. After emergency care was transferred to the Medic EMS, the crew truck 3 again entered the building to continue search operations. After searching the building, no other fire victims were located or injured personnel, but several other residents were located in the apartments and were safely evacuated out of the building. All the personnel on scene that day should be acknowledged for their professionalism and dedication. This incident lasted for hours, and the weather conditions, rapid growth of the fire, size of the building, and number of occupants made this situation demanding. Rarely is a crew presented with 2 different and separate rescue situations in one incident. But the crew of Truck 3 A shift accepted that challenge, and they were able to successfully rescue multiple people. I would like to acknowledge 3 individuals for their actions on that day. Lieutenant Jeff Pilgrim, firefighter Corey Scheckenbach, and firefighter Trevor Dotson. They have already received letters of commendation from the fire department for their good decision-making, ability to execute, and their high level of situational awareness and their commitment to protect the community. Based on the actions of these 3 individuals, I believe they have earned and are worthy of receiving the Medal of Valor. The Medal of Valor is presented to individuals whose actions clearly stand out while performing their duties under hazardous conditions to save the lives of others. The recipients of these awards will receive a cross medallion and a red Valor breast pin to be worn on their department uniforms. Mayor Mattson, would you please join me? And on behalf of the Davenport Fire Department, will you please present these individuals with the Medal of Valor, as I call them up. These 3 men have demonstrated the core values of our department and their dedication to our community. The first individual I'd like to call up is Lieutenant Jeff Pilgrim. And here's their certificate for it, too. Thank you, John. We'll just turn around.
You have any family here? Please come on.
Come on up. You weren't expecting this. You want to stand between me and the mayor? We'll have you and your family stand in here, and I'll just be on the other side. Yep. Well, there you go. Just squeeze in here. Just tell us where to go, Jerry.
Nope, you're good. I can fit everybody. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, all family. Do you want to do one? Just you 3? Okay. Family, you're good. And I'll send all these pictures. All the officers will get on the link.
Yes.
And again, thank you.
Next, I'd like to call up firefighter Corey Scheckenbach.
Family members that want to come up?
Sure.
You got a little one.
Yes, please. Yeah, okay. Yep.
Good job, buddy. All right, ready? Can you do it again? One more. Good job.
All right, congratulations. Next, I'd like to call up firefighter Trevor Dotson.
family?
Do we have anyone here with you? Yeah. Okay. We'll get a picture with you later here real quick. Again, I truly appreciate the opportunity to present this award to these three young men. You have an excellent Davenport Fire Department. As you can see, the hours of training that they put in, everything was very well executed that day. And given the opportunity, we would have many other individuals that would be able to fill those roles. So right place and right time, and they made the difference in our citizens' lives. So thank you for this opportunity. Okay, Jerry wants a picture, looking forward real quick. Mr. Mayor, is there anything you want to say?
So I just want to say, we love our public safety folks, police, fire, EMS, everyone. Every day they raise their hand, pick me, send me 911 calls. There is no question about when they go. But every now and then, we have three individuals here that go above and beyond and save lives, multiple lives. So on behalf of the city of Davenport, the city council, the 102 plus citizens of Davenport and the 450,000 citizens of this region in the Quad Cities are Helpford. Thanks, sincere appreciation for what we do, and we can't say thank you enough for everyone on what you do in public safety, but especially you three on that cold, brutal night. You simply said, I got you, and you saved lives, and that is something that is really special. And again, thank you on behalf of the city of Davenport for what you do.
We'll pause a moment for them to depart and enjoy time with their family. Okay, we'll continue. The next item, petitions and communications from council. Anyone? Alderwoman Lee.
Thank you very much. First, I'd like to let everyone know that the Quad City Environmental Film Series has started up again. Bob and I went to see the movie last Sunday, and it was really, really good. There was a full house at the Figgy. And the movies go from January 2nd to March 5th. They're either every Sunday or every other Sunday, depending on the movie, at 2 o'clock on a Sunday. And it's sponsored by the Joyce and Tony Singh Family Foundation, River Action, Nahant Marsh, the Sierra Club Eagle Group, and the Jewish Federation of the Quad Cities. And I would like to encourage everyone to sign up. There's a small fee for the movies. And then there's a discussion afterwards, and it's very thoughtful. The movie as well as the discussion afterward and the question that comes up. So I'd like to encourage everyone for that. And if you have any questions, I'll have this up here if you want to come up later. And if I'm allowed to ask a question of staff, I heard some really good news today about the GVI program and a grant that the Quad City Community Foundation got in support of that. Could somebody give us a quick briefing about that good news?
So actually, the mayor was most intimately involved, and I would ask for him to provide that update.
Thank you. Community Foundation, an organization that takes serious all the wonderful things that go on in the community. So we were lucky enough, and I say we, I just got to be there. They give out transformation grants for things they believe literally transform communities. So as everybody, at least up here, I think is aware, our city has leaned forward and taken the leadership role in the group violence intervention program for this area. It's been done in other cities, but as the council has been graciously supportive, both with funding and support, now other organizations around here are recognizing that work. And so this money will be used to assist that continued growth and work with Family Resources to provide some honorariums to the folks that really do the work. Again, I get to go to things, and so do others, and certainly the staff, Ms. Ott and our chief of police and the wonderful police department in support with community members working together to put a focus on the gun violence so that the folks that are either perpetrating the gun violence or victims of gun violence, we can directly work with and to reduce it. And I'm happy to say that the early indications of 70-plus members being contacted and an extreme low number in single digits that are repeating is working. So the Community Foundation recognized this work and wants this to continue, and the additional partnership with St. Ambrose University to keep track of the data and keep track of what we're doing. So as we talk about, this is not a program, this is an approach to dealing with gun violence. One of the many approaches both this city and others have taken the lead on to help with. I'm just so thankful that the Community Foundation recognized it and provided a $300,000 transformation grant to assist us in continuing this and the work with Family Resources. And again, recognizing the people do the work, community members out talking with the folks that are doing this. So I hope that helps a little bit of explanation, but it's just an acknowledgement, quite frankly, of the work that's being done with some funds. So
And
thank you for asking that question.
And there's a new leader, Dwayne Hodges, if I remember.
Dwayne Hodges is one of those wonderful community members with Tila Shore from Family Resources, Michael Cribbs, a whole bunch of others that are now, because they've taken it upon themselves out of the kindness of their heart to do this and work with community members, we have the opportunity to now give an honorarium and recognize them. So, and you'll see their faces up here in the near future being recognized officially.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for asking. And you're good? Yep. Alderman Cornett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to say that, give my congratulations to CASI for 50 years of service and everything they've done. Also, I'm having a ward meeting with 8th Ward's welcome. Anybody's welcome. Tomorrow night, 6 o'clock, Mid-City High School. And the item we'll be talking about is watershed and retention ponds. And if you have any questions about the budget, we may be able to assist you in understanding that. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Alderman Cornett. Alderman Kelly.
Thank you, sir. I just wanted to bring attention to something that's been heavy on my heart for a while. I've been sick, so I haven't been clearly thinking, but I want to bring a name to the gentleman that has passed away from downtown. Everybody called him Hard Hat. His name was Troy Harrington Jr., and it was somebody that was near and dear to my heart. And I just have to say, let's be mindful again of folks, because the city is, as much as we celebrate all these good things that the city has, we still have an underbelly in the city of Davenport. We don't talk about it. We have a lot of programs and services that do their jobs 8 to 4, Monday through Friday, which is great, but typically somebody's in need 6 p.m. on a Saturday evening. So I just wanted to bring attention once again to Troy Harrington Jr., which you guys called hard hats, that walk the streets of downtown Davenport. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Kelly. Anyone else? Okay, we'll move to the particular individual approval of items on the discussion agenda. And we have a couple, and I'll read the first one. This is a third consideration of ordinance for case REZ 22-07, being the request of High Properties on behalf of Shamrock Properties to rezone approximately 10457 acres of land bounded by Veterans Memorial Parkway, Eastern Avenue, Interstate 80, and Jersey Ridge Road from SAG Agricultural District to R1 Single Family Residential District, R4 Single Family and 2 Family Residential District, RMF Multifamily Residential District, and C2 Corridor Commercial District. Is there any public with comment? Seeing none, will an alderman please move third consideration?
So moved.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion from my respective alder folks? And I see Alderwoman Lee.
Amendment I'd like to make, but if anyone else would like to speak first, I'll wait.
Thank you, Alderwoman Lee. Does anybody else want to speak on this? Otherwise, I'll go right back to Alderwoman Lee. Alderwoman Lee.
Okay, thank you. The fourth condition says install a roundabout on Veterans Memorial Parkway located midway between the east and west boundaries of the subject property. Because this is going to be a rather large infrastructure right in the middle of the road, I would like to move an amendment that adds at the beginning, the developer shall. And that clarifies that the developer is responsible for working with the city and funding this. Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
All right, so you just are adding the shall. Thank you.
The developer shall.
Roger that. Okay, so there's a motion and a second for an amendment. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, there's a motion and a second. Brian, please call the roll on the Alderwoman Lee's amendment.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Cornett,
Yes.
Ortez,
Yes.
Jobson,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Grip,
Yes.
Condon,
Yes.
Dickman,
Yes.
and Kelly.
Yes.
10 yeses, Your Honor.
Very good. The amendment passes. Now we're back to the original third consideration. Any other discussion? Seeing none, Brian, please call the roll for third consideration with the amendment.
Kelly,
Yes.
Dickman,
Yes.
Ortez,
Yes.
Grip,
Yes.
Cornett,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Jobson,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
and Condon.
Yes.
10 yeses, Your Honor.
Very good. That ordinance is adopted. The next item is a third consideration ordinance of case ROW 2205, being the request of Corn Belt Capital to vacate unimproved right-of-way located south of Research Parkway and to the west of Interstate 80 Airport Industrial Park, 12th edition. Is there any public with comment? Seeing none, will an alderman please move third consideration? Motion and a second. Any discussion from alder folks? Seeing none, Brian, please call the roll on third consideration of this ordinance.
Dickman,
Yes.
Grip,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Condon,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Ortez,
Yes.
Cornett,
Yes.
Jobson,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
and McGinnis.
Yes.
10 yeses, Your Honor.
Very good. That ordinance is adopted. The next item is a second consideration of an ordinance for case REZ 22-08, being the request of Ecumenical Housing Development Group to rezone 1112 Bridge Avenue from R4C Single Family and 2 Family Central Residential District to RMF Multifamily Residential District. Is there any public with comment? Please, just a reminder for everyone, name, order, address. If you're not from here, we'd love to know where you're from in 5 minutes. Thank you.
My name is Carol Dowd. My husband Marshall and I live at 812 Bridge Avenue. First of all, we would like to thank Alderwoman Marion McGinnis for all of her time, work, and dedication in regards to the rezoning request of 1112 Bridge Avenue. She has helped us to navigate through this daunting process, and we are very grateful. Although we know that Marion has authored this proposed amendment in order to provide a compromise, we feel that we cannot support it as it is currently written. We continue to struggle to find the justification for why the current R4C zoning should be changed to RMF when in fact, the petitioner has stated that it has utilized single-family and duplexes to offer affordable housing opportunities in the past. Laura from P&Z stated that she felt comfortable recommending the change, in part, because it was never used as a single-family home. We can only postulate that all the individuals who worked on and signed off on the rezoning plan in 2019 felt the R4C code was appropriate in order to preserve and protect the centrally located established residential neighborhoods, otherwise they would not have zoned it as such. One wonders if Marshall and I had purchased 1112 Bridge Avenue knowing that it was zoned R4C and then petitioned to have it rezoned to RMF, would we have been told that we are welcome to fill out an application, but the staff will recommend that a request be denied? Would we have been informed that we were trying to circumvent the intent of the code? In contrast, if we are a development entity in need of additional points to earn more tax credits for federal funding, would the rezoning request have moved through the entire process with a concerted effort by staff to accommodate our zoning needs? We believe that the best resolution would be for the petitioner to withdraw its request for the rezoning. We would, however, support the petitioner providing 2 handicapped accessible affordable housing units at 1112 Bridge Avenue, which is allowed with the current R4C zoning, and then the petitioner could add another unit to one of the other 21 properties in this LIHTCP package. Next, based on some comments made last week, I want to clear up some misconceptions. Once again, we do not have an issue with ecumenical housing. We do not have an issue with its intended use of providing affordable housing. Our issue is, and always has been, about zoning, more specifically about rezoning. As has been stated many times before, we have personally lived through the negative consequences of indiscriminate zoning changes. We can only hope that we will not be forced to watch this neighborhood be slowly ravaged again by the requested rezoning, as well as all the subsequent rezoning that is sure to follow once this precedent has been set. The fact is, we will still be here living in this neighborhood long after ecumenical housing and other development entities move on to their next projects. In closing, the questions which beg to be asked are, why is an entire neighborhood being asked to accommodate the needs of one owner? Why isn't the owner being required to proceed based on the limitations of the current zoning, which were in place at the time that the property was purchased? Why do the rezoning needs of one owner seem to carry more weight than the opinions expressed not only by email, but also by the long line of neighbors week after week? In stark contrast, there has not been a long line of people here week after week to voice support of this rezoning request. And finally, is ecumenical housing really going to deny the opportunity to provide affordable housing to 2 deserving families in need just because they can't provide 3 units? Once again, we respectfully ask you to say yes to 2 units and no to 3 units by denying this rezoning request. And I will end with a quote by Mayor Mike Mattson, which is proudly displayed on the wall behind you. Let's all work together to make Davenport a safe, stable, and welcoming community. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello, my name is Juliana Buckaloo, and I'm in the 3rd Ward. Mr. Mayor, council people, thank you for the opportunity to speak again to you today. For the opportunity once again to speak to you about the rezoning of 1112 Bridge Avenue. This has been a long process, and a lot of people have spent a lot of time researching, preparing, and speaking here in public before you on this topic, which is not an easy thing to do. However, much like the many other things we do for our neighborhood and our neighbors, we feel this is necessary. Indeed, it should also be noted that our neighborhood is not the one asking for any changes to the city code. Rather, we are asking the city of Davenport to live up to its own code. Again, I want to emphasize that our neighborhood is not against affordable housing, as we have lots of it all around us, and they are our neighbors as well. We are also not against ecumenical housing as an organization, as they have done a lot of good and positive work in Davenport as a housing developer. However, during the course of this process, you have heard a representative from Ecumenical Housing freely and directly admit that they were fully aware of the zoning of this property when they bought it and used it in their tax credit filings, but simply believed it would not be a big deal to get the zoning changed to meet their tax credit filing needs. That, my friends, is the mentality that ended up costing the city lots of money to conduct a rezoning process that ended in 2019. It was also noted by city staff in questioning that if a homeowner wishes to change their single-family home to multiple dwelling structure, they are told simply that they would have to go through the rezoning process and the city staff would recommend against it, so it would not pass. So the city of Davenport tells homeowners that they cannot do what Ecumenical Housing is asking to do. When asked, why is this property different? The answer was because it was never a single family home to begin with. While this may be true, it is also true that this property was built in the early 90s, so it was there as the same building during the rezoning process that ended in 2019. My question is, why was it then zoned as R4C? I am not sure anyone here can specifically answer that question, but could it have been that consideration was given at the time by the zoning committees to the neighborhood and the existing density of housing and the special designation of R4C that clearly states that this classification is intended to preserve and protect Davenport's dense, centrally located, established urban residential neighborhoods? Could it have been that the zoning committees actually took that verbiage seriously and did not want it to be casually changed in development in a way that could impact the neighborhood that it was trying to preserve and protect? I appreciate Alderman McGinnis's work on trying to find a solution that allows us to move forward and still gives Ecumenical Housing the classification they desire. However, I think it has to be noted and stated that according to the information that has been presented, anyone that votes for this zoning change is voting to support a housing developer's request to change the City of Davenport zoning to simply meet their needs for a federal funding application. As has been stated, this then becomes that slippery slope of additional zoning changes by other housing developers strictly for financial reasons. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening. Mike Miller, 902 Bridge. I'm going to go a different way for tonight. First, I'd like to make a comment and suggestion about the 200-foot notification rule. It's insufficient. This case shows that, particularly where there's great concern about an area of historical value. First point is that it says may, not shall, inform the resident. It should say shall. It is not large enough to cover an area 200 feet. There's only, I think, 6 properties that this would touch. A lot more people are concerned than that. It should include any homeowners group close to the subject property to include their input so they don't, the police department and the city council wants us to form these kind of associations. But then you're not informing us when the area becomes, has a concern. Third or fourth, the cost should be covered by the individual making the request. That way it isn't a burden to the city. Now I'd like to look at some definitions. The first one is spot zoning. I looked up several different sites to find out what their definition was. Daniel Shapiro, the process of singling out a small parcel of land for the use classification different from the surrounding area for the benefit of the owner of such a property and to the detriment of the other owners. Spot zoning is often Spot zoning is, in fact, often thought of as the antithesis to planned zoning. The legal dictionary claims a provision in a general plan which benefits a single parcel of land by creating a zone for use just for that parcel and different from the surrounding properties in the area. Spot zoning is not favored since it smacks of favoritism and usually annoys the neighbor. I guess you can figure out that we're annoyed. An existing commercial business can be accommodated by zoning variance under the existing zone. Cornell law, a spot zoning it refers to when a piece of property or group of properties have special zoning laws applied to them different than the zoning laws surrounding area. And then it claims the practice of zoning, spot zoning, can be very controversial and in some cases illegal. So what do we glean from this? It smacks of favoritism, it's the antithesis of planning, and sometimes it's illegal. The last definition is affordable housing. This one was quite interesting to me. Everything I looked up has one single point. Affordable housing was a person's rent and mortgage and utilities are at 30% of their income. That would mean that if I make $200,000 a year and I spend $5,000 a month on mortgage and my utilities, I'm in affordable housing. I think that stretches the definition quite a bit. There needs to be a different way to look at that. As for our community, right now you have a stable, reliable area with people that care about it. We form neighborhood committees to keep and improve the area. We have watchouts for legal activities. We have invested large sums of capital, both sweat and monetary, in our neighborhood. This will change if you allow this to move forward. If you spot zone this one property, it breaks the promise that you, the city, made with us. So I ask you, what person considering buying an antique or historic home in an area like ours will be able to trust you in the future if you go through with this? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello, my name is Karen Miranda. I live at 920 Bridge Avenue. I just wanted to express my opposition to the rezoning of 1112 Bridge. That property may not have been a historic home. It may not have been a single-family home, but it is in an area that was zoned R4C recently, and it should be afforded the same protections as the rest of the homes in the area. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes. I'm Scott Nelson. I live in the 5th Ward. I live at 1206 East 11th Street. It's the property across the street from 1112 Bridge Avenue. I'm in opposition of it, the property being rezoned from R4C, single family, residential, dual family, to multifamily, because I believe it will have negative cascading effects on the surrounding neighborhood and other neighborhoods in the area. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, Mark Miller, 1315 East 11th Street in Davenport. And I just wanted to say I echo what people have said here earlier this evening regarding not rezoning. Excuse me. Also wanted to note that the packet that you've all received about this notes that it does not appear to be spot zoning according to the review. But they also included in that packet the Iowa State University definition of spot zoning. And what Iowa State University says the definition of spot zoning is what you are contemplating doing here. So I would request that the zoning not be changed. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. My name is Sam Moyer. I'm the Executive Director of Ecumenical Housing Development Group of Davenport. Ecumenical Housing requests your support and approval of this zoning request. We believe that our project at Bridge Avenue will bring improvement to the neighborhood. It'll revitalize a building that, quite frankly, is an eyesore. It will add off-street parking. It will provide a calmer use. We're going to provide stable homes to 3 families, providing much-needed 4-bedroom and ADA accessibility to the community. Over the past few weeks, and especially over the past several days, we've been having multiple phone calls, multiple meetings with our syndicator, with our partners, the Iowa Finance Authority, and our consultants. We've been discussing how this proposed amendment might affect our project. And what we know today is that we're satisfied with the amendment. We're okay with that, and understanding that the restrictions and some of the risks that are associated with that, in the unlikely event that the property is damaged, could in fact put us in a bad position. But we have managed to find a way that we can deal with that. Unfortunately, we were not able to find an alternative to building a 3rd unit on that property. This project and the greater project depend upon that 3rd unit at that location. Finally, just to wrap it up, we intend to be a good neighbor. We intend to be a very good neighbor, not just to that community, but for the people who will live there. It's part of our mission to provide housing in a way that helps our tenant families fit into the community and become part of the community. They need great neighborhoods to live in, and we would like, again, to ask for support of our request. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Ron Floyder, Davenport, Rock Island, and Ottumwa. I've sat and listened at this meeting, and really, we had a great group, but they outright lied to this council and to the people of Davenport. Now they're saying this 3rd hinges on our financing. I call that blackmail, people. That's the way I look at it. But for a council to cave in because they're saying, well, we won't get it. Well, you know what? How's that going to affect us later on down the road when another group comes in? There's a lot of questions here. If we as a city say, oh, that's okay, you just need one more. Well, I want a bar in my neighborhood, just one more. Or I want this, or I want that. You've already done it once, why not again? You have truly, if you let this continue, Pandora's box is open and it's gonna run wild. I'm sorry, anything they say can't be believed now. Once you lied, that's it. And to say we can't get, well, what's to say that's a lie? You gotta take people for their word. But to say we have to have it, you made a promise to this neighborhood. You made a promise to stabilize. You spent thousands and thousands of man hours and countless dollars to stabilize. Now you're gonna make it's just one. Don't go there, folks. They made the mistake, they outright lied. Now you're gonna reward them with a variance? Boy, investors are gonna look at this council and go, huh, that's cool. I can just lie to them and then admit it and they'll give me what I want.
Mr. Schreier.
That's the president, that's my opinion. I apologize, Mr. Mayor, but that raises 10,000 questions and Pandora's box is opening. I urge this council to shut it down now. I know it's gonna affect housing but they put you guys in that position. Don't let them blackmail and don't tell the neighbors all their hard work, all their money, all their effort doesn't mean nothing because someone with money wants to come in. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Jesse Yates, 1008 Mississippi Avenue, Davenport, Iowa. I was kind of struggling. Was I going to jump up here because I know really what's at stake? I do want to reflect on the record that we did reach out to Ecumenical Housing and ask for a conversation, and if we could mutually agree to ask this council to stay for 2 weeks, and see if we could work through with the IFA, with the homeowners, with zoning, to find a way around this. And they did not agree to the stay. They have agreed to have a conversation, maybe even tomorrow if we can all make ourselves free. But with the process not slowed down, it really puts us in a bad position. And I want to share some information with everybody. And again, I know I'm the packet guy now. So I've put some packets out, or through the clerk, asked some packets to be set in front of you. And I'm an inquisitive person. That's just my nature. It drives my wife nuts who's sitting back here. But, you know, listening to the timeline that was presented last week, I had to start writing things down. And I went back to former council meetings and listened to some of the conversations and the videos. And what I put in front of you is a timeline that I understood. I may not have it perfectly right, so I'll admit that now, but this is what I got from the videos. Is on the 18th of May, a funding package was submitted to the Iowa Finance Authority with this home in it. On the 21st of June, it was closed, $1 sale price, right? 31st of August, funding was secured, and I'm quoting, I think 10.8 million, something around there, in terms of funding. September 28th, they closed on all the other houses that were involved in the package, which I think they said that's what the requirement was. On 1 November was when zoning change was requested. 5.5 months after the packet submission. 1 December was the neighborhood meeting. And then 6 and 20 was the planning and zoning. So I think those are all for record. I'm not going to go there too much. I also heard something else that said, hey, this is critical, and I've heard again tonight, this is absolutely critical to the overall funding package. So I'm kind of in business, right? Nothing's ever absolute, right? There's always ways to play around with things. So I got really inquisitive, and I called the Iowa Finance Authority and asked some questions. And nice young lady named P, connected me right up to where all the application requirements were and everything. And so if you turn to page 2, I point out one portion of that. And this application package is about this big, so my weekend was spent reading this packet. But if you'll notice, 4-bedroom unit, the minimum requirement is 1,200 square feet, roughly, a little less than that, right? So if you look at the total package, you know, this house could have been submitted in accordance with the current zoning requirements as a 2 4-bedroom unit. So, and it could still be, I don't know. Right, so I have another slide here that I want to talk about here. As I dug into that packet, I noticed and wanted to understand what were the thresholds around zoning. And so you can read there, I'm not going to read to you, but essentially the packet should have been turned in with the correct zoning. There's some information in there about affirmation from the city, but I don't know what that means or whether that happened. But there's also a small clause at the bottom that's a little contradictory. It says, hey, maybe later the zoning wasn't correct, you can come back. But you have to certify that zoning is going to be in place. And so, you know, after today, I started asking some more questions. One of the things I learned is this is public view. So I called, I got access, and I could see the actual application. So on the application, EDHD is they're on record in this room saying they understood the restrictions. They acknowledged in the packet that it was MF and that it needed to be rezoned. They also certified that rezoning would happen later and before the cutoff date. They certified that there was no public hearings required. And they certified and they understood that no substitutions were allowed in the event the zoning did not happen. So I feel like they went into this eyes wide open that this was a risk. Now then, nobody here wants this to stop. We understand what's on the line here. We've been trying to find a way to do this. I dug in. What are the exceptions? Are there exceptions? How can we go back? And I feel like, and I understand if you look at the section called material changes, they define material changes very clearly. And one of them is the mix of units, number of units, all that stuff. But again, with all legal documents, there's a little escape hole, I think, which is on 3.2 that says changes in the number of buildings and units contained in each building will not be allowed, will be allowed if changes are required by local regulatory codes. I'm thinking that's our ordinance. So last statement, everybody here is okay with the zoning as is, and we would take 2 gladly. We have a great neighborhood for them.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I will move to, will an alderman move third consideration? Second motion and second, thank you. Any discussion? All right, I see Alderwoman McGinnis.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm going to beg for some consideration tonight because I may ask to come back and speak again. Had said that I was going to propose an amendment tonight, but I want to try to explore a little more the option of sitting down together. And I would, if Mr. Yates could come back, please, with your materials, please. I'd first like to give you a chance to finish what, I know that you ran out of time, and give you a little bit of time to finish what you're saying.
I think the last thing I was going to say is that with rare exception, and I kind of said it, with rare exception, almost every meeting we've stood here and we said we don't have a problem with affordable housing. We just want it done within the current zoning of our neighborhood. Our neighborhood's wonderful. It'll be a great place for someone to live. And if this goes, it'll start to slip backwards. And I just want to be careful that we don't set a precedence here. So assumptions can be made and then leverage can be applied to bring what I need to bear.
Thank you. You had mentioned that you had reached out to Ecumenical Housing.
Yes.
Today, could you talk about that conversation?
Yeah, I reached out to Sam, and granted, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 2:30, something like that, roughly. So, and asked if he could reach out to his board and see if there was an opportunity to put this in, to ask here in conjunction together for a continuance or stay, I'm not sure what the exact vernacular is, for 2 weeks to allow us to sit down and see if there was a way to work with Iowa Finance Authority to find a way through this, right? And one of the things I thought was, does the council need to say no to the MF to drive the conversation of, no, it didn't meet an ordinance, it didn't meet the regulatory requirement. But I think trying to understand that with IFA, and we would write letters, we would support and say, hey, we're the ones that are sticking the mud, right? I think they made an assumption, probably not, I know it's only one unit, turns out it maybe wasn't a great assumption, but I think we could help in that conversation. I don't know what the scoring is like. I know it's competitive. It's going to probably take points away. I've got the actual list of how the scoring was done. There's some points in between second and third. I don't know if it's enough.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Yates. Mr. Moore, could you come up, please? Thank you. I know you had a conversation this afternoon, and it was, but this process goes forward. Is there, what would EHDG have an objection to sitting down and trying to work this out further? This puts council, it's always better if requests from one body that isn't part of an area when it's like this and can have a conversation with neighbors and things can be resolved. I mean, that is the ideal, but it doesn't sound like EHDG is able or willing to do this. I'm not trying to put words in the mouth, but could you explain, please?
Yeah, absolutely. When we put the zoning request in and we had the neighborhood meeting, we actually wanted to have it at the location and we were open to further meetings at that time. I got the call today at 2:30. I had a meeting with a few members. I had a meeting with our consultants and with Jim Richardson as well at 3 o'clock and then again at 4 o'clock. There was no way I could have a meeting between then and now, nor could I speak for my board or for our various partners and syndicators on sitting down and having a meeting that would happen until I asked what some of the ideas that he had were, and he preferred that we would discuss those in a meeting. And I got back, talked to our board, talked to certain board members, and talked to certain partners. and they actually agreed to it, and we let him know that prior to the meeting starting tonight. So we're absolutely willing to do that.
So if we could table this or something, you would be willing to talk about, to sit down with the neighborhood? I mean, they have been at your meeting since the early part of December. So it's this them coming before this council that's a month into their coming to the meetings, the planning and zoning meetings. So is that something that you would be willing to do if this council could decide they would do that?
Obviously, it's in our best interest to keep this thing rolling. We don't want to necessarily see it tabled. We're absolutely willing to meet with them. Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. If you could come back to me, Your Honor, I would request that. Thank you.
You want to make a motion later?
Yes,
After-
yes, sir.
Yep, I get it. Okay, I'll let everybody else speak then. Alderman Joby.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Excuse me, pardon me. Thanks, Mr. Hoyer, for speaking with me on the phone last week, educating me a little bit. I also want to thank Mr. Yates for the packet you put together. I think this is something I was always leaning a no on. Kind of solidified things for me this evening. This is one where, just for brevity, I'll probably vote yes for an amendment that might get made, just in case it does get passed. At least get some assurances, but overall, I will probably vote no for the ordinance as it is. I don't like feeling like I'm potentially mess up some financing, but I just don't like this spot. I don't like a precedent that I might set, and so that's where I'm at. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Jobson. Alderman Ortiz.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll start off first by saying, I have a question for you, and let me start off by this is where I'm having trouble with, is when they put that application in, knowing that it wasn't zoned correctly. Problem I have is when you fill out something anticipating or hoping that it can change, the problem I have is, okay, it was awarded. That's $10.8 million. When you start throwing that kind of number around, that influences people. But the application shouldn't maybe even have been allowed to be applied for because they knew the zoning and they knew they were short the units. Am I understanding that correctly?
Thank you. What I would say about that is I'm not familiar enough with the exact application, but I would say in general, it's not that unusual for someone to make an application thinking that they may be able to persuade rezoning to happen down the line. But certainly that is a risk you are taking when you fill that out, that you won't be successful.
Okay. Second pointer that I believe in this is, ward alderman. Alderman Kelly has voiced his, in favor of, voiced some concerns, that's his ward. He lives in it. He has to answer to the residents on a daily basis. So I hold great weight in that. To the residents, I know you don't want to hear this, but never is a big word to me. Change always has to happen. Now, it might be 20 years that this needs to be changed, 15 years, 5 years. I'm not saying right now, but ever since I got on the council, certain things have been, well, this is the way we've always done it. No. Times change. People change, areas change, things change. We have to change. This council, through the leadership of Mayor Mattson, has put the city and then Corey Spiegel, the administrator, and all her department heads, through their change in ideas, have put us in a great spot. Financially, if you look at all the things that we've been able to accomplish in the 1 year that I've been on council and the 1 year going forward, I mean, hats off to them and hats off to my colleagues for the direction that the city of Davenport's going. It's been said even to the mayor, the city's in probably the best spot it's been in a long time, a long time. And it makes my job easier. Now, these are the tough parts. You have a company that does great work in the city, and I've heard other colleagues speak to you guys. I've never directly done with things, you know, with you, you know, so far. Please, no matter how this turns out, continue to do the great work. I thank you for all that you do. To the neighbors, I love that you guys show up, get involved in your city government, love your neighborhood so much. I'll just end it with this. With all due respect to Alderman Kelly, I don't like the fact that it was submitted because without this unit, that money, that application would have never been able to go forward. They probably wouldn't have been able to get $10.8 million. And the timeline that has been presented to us, whether it's correct, not correct, I find a problem with that. So all due respect to Alderman Kelly, I will be voting no on this issue. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Alderman Ortiz. Alderman Kelly.
Thank you, sir. I want to say thank you to Mr. Yates for giving me the time, because the irony of this is we're quoting the mayor, we're quoting working together, we're quoting all this togetherness. This is a conversation about my neighborhood that I was never privy to. So the togetherness, the kumbaya tonight and the last couple of weeks has been really interesting to me, because I can tell you, I can remember a time when we, as in the Kelly family, couldn't even buy a house in that home, in that area, because of we were the Black family moving to that side of town. I went there, I pushed the button, yes. So I'm explaining to you, so some of the descriptions, the ravishing, the devastation, and I'm just like, oh my God. I'm like, what neighborhood are we talking about? I'm sitting there going like this. I've been in this neighborhood for so long, and I've seen the ups, the downs, the dope houses, the houses that burn. Some of you folks that have gone from your multi-level houses to the single-family home. So I'm a little taken back that we're standing with togetherness, the city, safety, and this is something I've been fighting way before I even sat in this seat, something I was fighting for in that neighborhood. So it's really, really interesting to me that now something to this magnitude is all of a sudden, whoa, devastating, ravishing, poor people, those people, these people. Do you know how that feels to hear that for 50 plus years? And then now all of a sudden I feel like I'm the bad guy because I want this in the neighborhood with a conversation that I wasn't even brought to the table with? That's just how I feel. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Alderman Kelly. Alderwoman Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As was stated, this was never a single-family home. It's designed commercially. It's got sprinkler systems in it. It was a group home. It was an adult daycare. There was lots of parking on the street. One of them was open 24 hours as people would come to pick their folks up. Ecumenical Housing isn't a company, it's a nonprofit. And they do really good work. And they needed to put together a package that included this building that was given to them by Family Resources for $1. That's a wonderful gift that they could use to add to their packet in order to get the overall funding, not just for this, but their overall funding. I understand that they were on a tight timeline in order to get the application in. So it's not something that they could spend a lot of time, like tight timeline, like days, if I understand right, where they could take a lot of time to work out the zoning question. They understood the zoning was different, but they also saw an opportunity to make a big difference in people who are disabled and in their lives. And as I said last time, I know one of those people, and her quality of life would be really improved if she could get out of where she is, which is a scattered housing that's now gone to a nonprofit, into one that's specifically set up for ADA. So this would bolster the entire application, not just for this building. The zoning board recommended approval. The city staff recommended approval. And we've said here at this dais, we need to support when we get those kinds of recommendations. We just did that a couple of weeks ago on an unrelated situation. This whole thing needing one more unit gives them the tax credits and the points that they need to cover disabled housing for a lot of folks. I don't think anything was meant to be underhanded. I think the timing was tight when this whole opportunity came up, when Family Resources gave them the building for $1, which is a great deal when you're a nonprofit without a lot of money trying to do good things for disabled people. I really do believe that the folks who will be in there will be good neighbors. I believe that Ecumenical Housing will be good landlords. They want to make sure that their people can be taken care of in the housing that they support and provide. I read carefully Alderwoman McGinnis's amendment. I think it takes care of a lot of the concerns that I've heard. I really appreciate you folks coming over and over and over again to express your opposition to this. But I'm also seeing the same people over and over again, and not a broader group. I'd like to ask, are you going to request the amendment tonight?
It's not appropriate to ask me that.
Okay, okay. Something Alderman Dickman said is, if it's not used for this use, I assume they're going to have to sell it, and you don't know what the next use would be, and you might like it even less. I don't know. Nobody knows. That's a risk we all take in life with those kinds of things. I really support the work they're doing. I support the housing for ADA, for people that can actually improve their quality of life. I truly believe they will be your good neighbors. I don't see the slippery slope because it is a commercial building. It was never a single home. It was never built that way. It wasn't designed that way. And so I will support this rezoning. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderwoman Lee. Alderman Dunn.
Thank you, Your Honor. Attorney Warner, could you address the issue of spot zoning?
Sure. That term is used in a sense that sometimes you say spot zoning, and there's spot zoning and illegal spot zoning. And sometimes it gets mashed together, right? When you say spot zoning, you're referring to a single parcel, and there's legal and illegal spot zonings. And in fact, one of the speakers pointed out that sometimes it's illegal. In this case, it's been reviewed by another attorney on my staff. There was a question last week about this. Reviewed by another attorney on my staff more in depth, and he says it is not illegal spot zoning.
Thank you, Alderman Dunn. Anyone else before I go back to Alderwoman McGinnis? Alderwoman McGinnis.
Thank you, Your Honor. I certainly listen with interest and concern and thoughtfulness, hopefully, to all of my colleagues. I would, a couple of things, though. Zoning, the person who stood up and talked about would this happen if there weren't these dollar signs? I mean, rezoning because of financial pressure is usually bad zoning. And I think everyone on this dais is probably pretty uncomfortable. Maybe not everyone, I can't speak for everyone, but I, for one, am very uncomfortable with that. It is disturbing that that 21 units and millions of dollars would hinge on a decision of this council, and a decision was made to make an application, and now we're months down the road. It's very disturbing, and I understand that, and I don't believe that EHDG is nefarious in any way, and they do good work, but it is really disturbing that $10 million would rest on this, and it is unfair, I think, to put this council in that position. I am going to, hearing that the neighborhood has asked to sit down and talk about this and for a tabling so that this can be discussed further and that a way can be found. Mr. Moyer saying that it sounded like the last thing that I heard you say was that you would be able to sit down and talk with the neighborhood. Is that, I don't want to misspeak for you, is that correct? Right, so I do also don't want the process of this, and I know it's been very difficult for neighbors, for HDG, for everyone here, but I don't want our 3-cycle process to make us miss an opportunity for the person requesting and the neighborhood to sit down together. And the only way to do that is if we table this, I believe, for 1 cycle. And that would mean that we would, I would ask for a table tonight, and then it would, then there would be, you would have, then both parties would have 2 weeks to meet, to talk through this, to see if there's options, and then come back. And maybe we're in the same place at that point, but it's, this, if it can be worked out off this dais, I mean, that's always better. So based on that conversation, I would make a motion to table this for 1 cycle, Your Honor.
Okay, that's a motion. Is there a second? Okay, there's a second. Brian, please call the roll, because there's no discussion on a table. Please call the roll on tabling this for 1 cycle.
Jobson?
No.
Kelly?
No.
Lee?
No.
McGinnis?
Yes.
Dickman?
No.
Grip?
Yes.
Condon?
Yes.
Dunn?
Yes.
Ortez?
No.
And Cornett?
Yes.
5 yeses and 5 noes, Your Honor.
So to continue the conversation, and I agree that the best way to work this out is when the respective folks want to talk, so I will support the table. Yes. Okay, so this is tabled. All right, we move to the consent agenda. Is there a motion for approval of all items on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Okay, Brian, please call the roll.
Ortez?
Yes.
Dickman?
Yes.
Dunn?
Yes.
McGinnis?
Yes.
Condon?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Jobson?
Yes.
Cornett?
Yes.
Grip?
Yes.
And Kelly?
Yes.
10 yeses, Your Honor.
Very good, thank you. The consent's approved. I just want to add thank you to the police department and the union for great negotiation. Is there any other ordinances, resolutions, and motions? Fire department. Seeing none, okay. Is there any public with business other than what was on the agenda? Seeing none, any other reports, Ms. Spiegel? Is there a motion to adjourn? Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Folks, please don't talk. Is there everybody, yes or no?
Yes.
I heard there's enough yeses to adjourn. We're adjourned. Thank you. Please hold your conversations till we're done.